Hello, everybody. Nice to see people funneling in.
Hello.
Hello. Please feel free to turn on your cameras if you're comfortable. It's always lovely to see a range of faces and also, honestly, a little bit of a sticky beak of where people are joining from. I love seeing the combination of people in offices, people sitting in vehicles, people in high vis. Always nice to see the diversity of people joining for sessions like this today. Beautiful. Welcome all. All right, we'll get started. So for those of you maybe online trying to get sound to work, hopefully you join soon. We are recording this session just so that you know, so that those who weren't able to make this particular time slot are able to access the same information that you are today. For those of you who haven't met me or heard from me so far, my name's Alicia Taylor-Jones. I use pronouns either she or they interchangeably, and I am the Mentoring Program Manager for NAWO, National Association for Women in Operations. So absolutely delighted to have you joining us here today to learn more about the 2025 cohort and 2025 program for NAWO Mentoring. Can I get us flipping forward one slide, please? I've got Madeline Cooper from NAWO, Events Manager, ably supporting the tech side of things today. I also have with us NAWO CEO Louise Ween, waving frantically screen. Before I get Lou to introduce herself formally, I would like to offer an acknowledgement of country. I'm actually joining you from Koorabup, which is on Menang Pibbleman Noongar Budja in Great Southern WA. Happy to see any shout outs from other WA people, even people, yay, some waves, woohoo, particularly anyone from the southwest as well. I'd like to pay my respects to elders past and present for their enduring custodianship of the lands and waters in which I get to live, work and play. And I'd also like to extend that respect to any Aboriginal and or Torres Strait Islander people that are joining us today. Here on Noongar Budja, it's a Jilba, which is known as the first spring or the season of conception. So it's when all the blue wrens around where I live are flashing their bright colours and trying to find their partners. The weather is shifting from the grey skies of winter, and we're getting, today I've actually got a bright blue sky, bright sunshine, also freezing. So we're just in that transition phase at the moment. The image that you've got before you, Kiaraka by Narelle Osborne, was drafted for NAWO as part of the Reconciliation Action Plan, and it actually shows NAWO's journey. So there's elements of people and place and career journey all embedded in this image, and we continue to pass on our thanks and gratitude to Narelle for drafting this for us. If you would like to add into the chat the country that you're joining from today, please feel free to type it in. Lou, I'll hand over to you to introduce yourself and some of our members.
Thanks so much, Alicia. I'm joining you today from the Wurundjeri lands, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation being the traditional owners of this land, and I pay my respects as well. I'm delighted to be seeing all of these fabulous faces come into the room today. We're really proud of the NAWO Mentoring Program. It is in its 12th year currently, so you're going to be in the 13th year of the program. And over that time, we've mentored over 1,000 people from across all corners of this great country, and we've had so many great volunteer mentors connect through the program as well over those years. And so also proud that we can now have our NAWO mentoring alumni being more and more active every year. So that's fantastic. As you can see, we draw our membership from multiple industries and businesses, 94 of them, in fact, and this means that our mentoring program is very unique in that way. Women and men connect through the program across industries and across functions and disciplines, and this not only broadens the talent pool and pipeline, but also enables people to think more openly about the transferable skill sets that can apply across all of these different sectors. It really aligns us to a key objective for NAWO, and that is to provide resources and support to ensure that women are attracted to historically male-oriented industries, functions and disciplines, can stay in these disciplines and navigate existing systemic barriers that we know are still there, but we can do that and still thrive in our careers. So that's what the mentoring program is about. It's about helping people navigate that and also learn from one another, from everybody's individual career journeys and stories. I'm really keen to welcome all of the companies that have joined us more recently, and there's quite a long list. So I just would like to give a big shout out to these companies. If you're part of them, this will be the first year that you've had the opportunity to participate in the program. So welcome to CNH, Fenner, Seaver, Taswater, Blackmores, Fonterra, Oznet, Hydro Tasmania, Qantas, and AMS. Pretty amazing list, and welcome if you're from those companies. We hope that you really enjoy being involved. Thank you, Alicia.
Thanks heaps, Lou. Now I'm going to move on to what are we actually talking about today. Sorry, Madeline, you gave me control, and so I took it for a moment there. So what are we going to cover today? We've allocated an hour for this session today. We may not use that full hour. I hope no one objects to getting some more time back in their day, but we'll see how we go. That's the outer end of our meeting envelope. We're going to talk through the 5 key learning priorities at NAWO, which are around what the mentoring program is framed around, an overview of the program overall, the program structure, so what you can expect, including the time commitment. So what is going to be their time investment from your end? Expectations of mentees. So what we need you to bring to the table in order for the mentors to be able to do their best work, bringing what they bring. Where can NAWO mentoring take you? We actually have an interview that we've conducted by 2 of our former and current mentors who are sharing a bit about what that experience has meant for them as mentees and mentors. And finally, having a Q&A opportunity. So do please feel free to write questions in the chat. Try and keep a lens across them and answer as we go, but we will absolutely make time at the end for a question and answer session. So the 5 learning priorities, I'm just going to stop touching it, Madeline. You gave me control, but I'm just going to give it back. The 5 learning priorities, future focus and adapted learning. So this is what we frame a lot of our discussions around within the mentoring framework. So building and leading diverse teams. We want people to capacity build around understanding and managing bias, forming diverse teams for high performance, effectively leading diverse teams for high performance, giving and receiving feedback. We know difficult conversations often come up in the workplace, particularly if you're moving into leadership roles or are establishing yourself as a leader. And we can help you go through that, and facilitating to leverage diversity for better business outcomes and outcomes for your organisation. Number 2 is around business and technical acumen. So whilst your particular role no doubt has specific areas of technical expertise that you can only be getting from particular stuff. Now, just sorry, comment seeing the slides. Can everyone see the slides? Okay. You might just need to change your view. Okay, up in the right hand corner, if you click on view, perhaps there's an option there to see those. But yes, you should be able to see slides. Business and technical acumen. So whilst your particular role no doubt has some very specific areas of technical expertise, which we won't be deep diving into within a mentoring relationship, there are broader issues around how you apply technical acumen within your workplace. So creativity and innovation, understanding metrics and measures that matter, business partnering, so how you can have cross-functional collaboration, project management. I think project management is high on quite a few people's desirable skills lists, and also problem solving. And as Madeline's just put in the chat there, we'll be sending out copies of the slides and the full recording. So if anything is glitchy, apologies, but you will be able to review it later. Number 3 is around influence and negotiation. So we found there's been conversations for goodness knows how long, decades probably, about women in workplaces and about lacking confidence. And what I've found through this program and through my career is that women don't lack confidence. They certainly don't lack competency. Women are highly skilled. Women often know that they're highly skilled. But being able to communicate that in a way that gets heard by leadership and also reflected back to them and respected for their expertise can be a challenge. So influence and negotiation skills, how you communicate, how you set up your, for want of a better term, personal brand or professional brand within your workplace context is really useful. So how can you champion change within your organization? How can you negotiate strategies around a win-win scenario as opposed to compromise? How can you identify and influence key stakeholders where there are people that have power and influence that you don't? How can you build your workplace relationships? And how can you communicate with influence to those that matter? 4 is around maximizing your effectiveness. So I think throughout the program, we see so many people recommending their various tips and tricks and tools around self-efficacy, goal setting, time management, how to do your job better or smarter. So building reputational capital, some mindfulness and well-being, acknowledging that we are entire, human beings, not just vehicles for work. How do we take care of ourselves as well as being wonderful employees and leaders? Growing meaningful networks beyond perhaps your initial team or even your organization, and communicating with purpose. And finally, adaptive and courageous leadership. So we want to be building a suite of operational leaders who do look to change the status quo, who are committed around creating gender balance at all levels in their organizations and supporting their organizations, particularly who are members of NAWO, to achieve this goal. So some reflective practice, some self-awareness, authenticity, looking at values and motivation, leadership vision and legacy to take it forward, how to take decisive action, having courageous conversations, as we mentioned before, around difficult conversations, and how to build trust as a leader in your organization going forward. So these are the overall priorities and frameworks within which the program operates. Madeline, if I can move to the overview for the program, or the next slide. So a bit of context for what the program looks like overall. We're an Australia-wide virtual mentoring program. I should say we also do have international candidates. So historically, over the last couple of years, we have had people joining us from India, from England, from Canada, from South America, from the United States, Malaysia, and Singapore. Our only, being a virtual program, we used to have some people would meet in person, particularly if they were co-located, and that is still absolutely an option. But since COVID, from an accessibility perspective and a safety perspective, was moved online. And what we found from that is we managed to engage a lot more people from regional and remote areas in Australia. It obviously opened it up internationally as well, where the only barrier became around time zones and managing meetings as opposed to geographical location. So we've moved to the full virtual framework to be able to accommodate a broader range of people. The program runs from about the 15th of February next year, 2025, through to the 31st of October. So I want to acknowledge we are currently in August the year before, and we'll explain a bit why we're opening up applications so early shortly. There are 3 options for participating in the mentoring. Mentoring circles, and the next slide I'm going to elaborate on what these models are. One-to-one mentoring, so one mentor, one mentee, or the NAWO GEM or Gender Equality Men program, which was piloted this year and is just finishing up its pilot within the next month or so, was our first foray into supporting men as being better allies within operations for supporting gender balance in their organisations. All of these options, we come together using a bespoke matching process. So the reason that we're opening applications now and we're inviting applications over the next 2 months up until the 19th of October is that all your applications I go through one by one. We don't use an algorithm. We don't use AI. It is a human set of eyes, being mine, that goes through all of the applications for the mentors and manually makes that match. So we're ensuring that everything you put in your application there as far as what your aspirations are, what you're looking to get out of the program, what your work history looks like, are things that all go into the consideration to match you with the best possible mentor to take you through the program next year. So this finishing up in October gives me a bit of time over towards the end of this year to make sure we've got those matches, make sure we get them right, and that you have your warm introduction ready to go into the new year. We run the program through structured sessions that are aligned to the NAWO learning priorities. This is particularly for the mentoring circles, have quite structured sessions. One-on-one has a lot more flexibility, as I'll explain in a moment. And we also provide professional growth and networking opportunities. So you will be able to connect through different virtual events, but also through our LinkedIn group with other people who are participating in the program the same year as you. We also, as a NAWO member, outside of the mentoring program, you have access to a whole range of either virtual or in-person events, site tours, check-in chats, the like, that you can use to expand your network and meet more women in operations from other parts of Australia. Can we jump forward to the format, please? So these are the 3 modes or formats that we run the program in. Mentoring circles have 4 to 6 women working within operations. These are for women who are emerging or mid-level career and are aspiring towards executive or leadership roles in operations within the next 2 to 5 years. So it's very leadership focused. The circles do follow looking at the 5-step learning priorities, as well as a session on sponsorship, because we want to acknowledge that mentoring is an excellent tool for supporting women in their careers, but add in sponsorship, where we give our mentees tips and tools on how to access leaders within their organisation or within their sectors to vouch for them, to provide them with opportunities to recognise their work, is an absolute game changer as far as escalating your career projection going forward. The total time is for the circles is 7 mentoring sessions over that period of mid-February to the end of October, of about 90 minutes duration each. So that's the minimum expectation. NAWO GEM or Gender Equality Men, we will be running it next year after the success of this one this year. Similar to the mentoring circles, it's groups of 4 to 6 men working with operations. They're mid-level career or leaders, and they aspire to support gender balance and equality within their business. There's a bit of an extended commitment around the GEM program. There's 7 information sessions of 45 minutes each. These are run in partnership with Our Watch, which is the national leader on the primary prevention of violence against women, and their workplaces team provides sort of webinar, I guess, interactive webinar sessions for 45 minutes to upskill as far as some of the knowledge around what does workplace equality, respect and gender balance in businesses look like, and what can men use their positions of leadership and privilege. How can they use them to drive that forward? They then, similarly to the mentoring circles, have 7 mentoring sessions of 90 minutes each. And the one-for-one mentoring. So that's any function within an operational business. You can work within marketing, you can work within accounting, you can be a grad. You can be at any stage of your career for the one-on-one mentoring. It's focused around personal and professional growth. And those sessions really are decided between you and your mentor. So you'll have a goal setting session first, you'll go through a development plan, and whilst the learning principles and all of the resource portal and everything will be available to you, you'll be able to actually talk one-on-one with a mentor about either specific aspirations or specific challenges that you're looking to navigate in the workplace. So it becomes much more bespoke. That has a minimum of 4 mentoring sessions of 60 minutes for that one-on-one time. Angela, a question in the chat. What exactly is working in operations, identifying process improvement, absolute support processes on site? Yep, absolutely. We would consider you working in operations. If you're thinking for around the mentoring circles, it's around you working in an operations business, of which, you know, all of our members do come under that: retail, mining, transport, logistics, manufacturing, construction, etc. Whether you'll be looking towards a leadership lens is what those circles are geared towards. So whereas one-on-one can be around specific challenges, and I know some people will use the one-on-one mentoring for things like they're returning to work after becoming a parent, and they're looking at how do they navigate now balancing 2 very big parts of their life, and, you know, continue to succeed and move forward in the workplace. Some people have just gone into their first leadership role and are looking for some more specific one-on-one guidance on how do they set themselves up for success and thrive in their first ever leadership role. So with the circles based in that trajectory to executive leadership, and the one-on-one being more bespoke as to your specific needs. Can I jump forward, please, Madeline? And Lou's put some examples in there as well. So what the program includes, it includes our resources platform and portal. So we've got a whole range of tools and resources that sit on the NAWO website for you to use. This includes recommended articles, videos, podcasts, infographics, etc., etc. We also, quite early in the program, invite mentors and mentees to suggest resources that they personally find really useful to add to that platform. So it's a growing resource as the program evolves. You have a dedicated planning and goal setting session as your first mentoring session, and that's whether you're one-on-one or in your mentoring circles, to make sure that you're set up for success to get what you need out of the program going forward. You have your structured mentoring sessions for the circles, and also for the one-on-one, you will be in collaboration with your mentor, deciding what your sessions will look like going forward. You're invited to invite-only networking events just for the 2025 mentoring cohort. We always have a midpoint celebration and event. We also have opportunities where we invite people to come and speak, hear from experts, hear from very senior leaders, small workshops on different topics of interest. I see Lou's put more roles and areas in there. A question, Donna, is there an age limit to who can be deemed as a mentee? No. If you are breathing, we are happy to have you involved. We have had quite a few mentees actually this year, I think, who were more looking to retirement. So they had one-on-one as opposed to the circles. They weren't so much looking at how to go further in the leadership, you know, how to get a promotion, how to move forward. They were looking at how did they start to transition to part-time work or move into a retirement phase? How did they set up a legacy, etc. So absolutely, there's no age limit on being a mentee or a mentor for that matter. And finally, the celebration event at the program end. So this year, our cohort's in-person event will be in Melbourne. It's also live streamed. We always make sure that people can access it from wherever they are. It features things like our NAWO X Talks competition, which is something our alumni get to be involved in, as well as, excuse me, the Mentor of the Year award. The Connor O'Malley Mentor of the Year award is presented at that event. We also have great speakers, people get to network, and it ends up just being a real celebration of what you have achieved throughout the year and your induction into the alumni community. Can I jump forward to time commitment, please? So this is what it looks like. 19th of August, so all of yesterday, mentor and mentee applications opened. I got up yesterday morning with my WA time zone and found my inbox already full of some applications. So that was wonderful to see people getting going from the start. We're closing applications for both mentors and mentees on the 20th of October. From then on, I will be doing lots of pots of coffee and potentially cookies and things, and doing the matching process with screens and screens of spreadsheets. And come January, so after the Christmas break, you will be given a warm introduction to your mentor and or if you're in the circle, your fellow mentees. On the 15th of February, we will have our program launch. And then your mentoring sessions will happen between that launch on the 15th of February up until the 31st of October. Baz, when will you know you've been accepted? You'll receive an email saying that we've received your application and that we're doing our best to make a match. You'll get an update before Christmas break on where everything is at. And we generally, if we are unable to find a match, we will let you know as soon as possible. That's very rare that we wouldn't be able to find somebody to be able to support you. But we will let you know once your application is received and that we've what the process will look like sort of before Christmas break, so you're not fretting over Christmas break when to expect your welcome email going forward. Renata, thanks so much for joining. A fee to do the application. There isn't a fee for the application, there is for the program. So I will speak to that in just at the end of this time commitment one. We do the matching and introductions, the program launch, you have your sessions. There's a mid-program check-in point in end of June, early July, just making sure that everything's running well and also getting some input from you on how things are going. The structured sessions are to be completed by the 31st of October, and that's because by mid-November, this year it's on the 14th, we have our end of year celebration. Is there a fee? There is. So to participate in the program overall is a cost of $750, including GST, and that's for NAWO members. So if your organisation is a NAWO corporate member, that's the total of the fee. If you're joining as an individual, you can join as an individual member of NAWO. I just wanted to sense check with Lou what the cost is of individual membership for 2025.
$99, inclusive of GST.
Thank you. I just wanted, before I actually said it, I wanted to double check that that was right. Madeline's put that in the chat as well. Thank you. Donna, can you be a mentor and a mentee? Absolutely. And we have quite a few people that do that. So You might be at a stage in your career where you feel you absolutely have things to offer as a mentor for people either working in operations or emerging leaders. You also might have some, questions or challenges or particular professional development that you want to get some advice on as a mentee. So you can absolutely do both. And in fact, we welcome it because it's wonderful to have that bit of the pipeline of people seeing it from both sides. I think mentors that are also mentees become better mentors, and mentors are also mentees get more out of the program because they can see it from the mentor side as well. Madeline, can I jump forward to expectations? So these are the things we sort of expect of our mentees who are joining the program: that you're aspiring to grow your career in operations, that you're committed to playing an active role in your own development and career progression, that you're a NAWO member, either individual or corporate, and that you have the capacity and availability to work with a mentor for the full program. So as I said, from the time commitment, what that looks like is, for an individual, it's that you've committed to 4 one-hour sessions over the course of that sort of 8-month period. For circles is that you've committed to 7 90-minute sessions over that same period. And you have the support of your organisation to participate. And what we mean for that is corporate members will often pay for their staff to participate as part of their professional development. So that's absolutely, if you're part of a member organisation, something to check in with your people and culture or HR team or your manager to make sure that they're happy to support your cost. It's also about time though as well. So over the course of 8 months, it's not a huge commitment of time, but we want to make sure that your managers, your team know that you're participating, that it's embedded in your work plans, that you get the time to participate. Not only in that session, but also a bit of time outside of that to read materials or reflect on it. Make sure you're getting the most out of the opportunity. I think there's nothing worse than people setting themselves up and then not being supported to be able to leave, not have a meeting at that particular time because that's when their mentoring session is on, and not being able to get the most out of the program. So ensuring that your organisation and your managers are able to support you both cost-wise and time is important. Question on the fee. So $850 if you're individual. It is the same price for all forms of the mentoring program. As Lou said, there's $750 if you're in their corporate membership. Can we jump next? So we've got an interview. So I might just pause. We're going to have Q&A in a moment after our video interview. And I did want to check, is Rebecca Stenhouse with us today? Could you come off mute or raise your hand if you are? She was potentially going to be able to join. Nope, if not, it's fine. Madeline's going, no. Perfect. Before we go into this interview, this was conducted, last week between Jen Balding, who is one of our former mentors, with Rebecca Stenhouse, who is a current mentor and former mentee, both now in CEO roles, and talking about their experiences. Before I jump to it, just want to check, is there any questions? Please feel free to put in the chat or raise your hand if you want to come off mute, just because of the size of the cohort we have online today. Any questions about the time commitment, expectations of mentees, whether this is right for you? I'm going to take silence as not right now. So feel free to write in the chat. Sessions during daytime or evening. So for one-on-one, much more flexibility with that. That's decided between you and your mentor. With your circles, it will be all meeting times are by negotiation between your mentor and yourself. So circles is obviously, there's more people to negotiate those times with. Some people will do it, will do evening or out of work sessions, but that's part of we encourage people to meet during work hours, because that's part of having your organisation support you as well. We feel that you should be remunerated for the time that you're investing in your professional development. But the dates and times are absolutely, they're negotiated. For context of scope, we had this year over 250 mentees participate in the program and over 120 mentors. So we absolutely do not centrally schedule people. People working within operations have lots of people are on shift work, lots of people are in fly in, fly out. Lots of people have blackout periods where they definitely cannot meet. So we leave that flexibility up to the individuals. I'll keep an eye on comments as we go, but Madeline, could you please screen for us our wonderful interview between Jen and Beck? Thank you.
My name is Jen Boulding. I'm the CEO of a healthcare and community nursing business. We're currently named Programmed Health Professionals and Programmed Care in the market, but very excitingly, we have changed ownership in the last couple of months, and we've joined forces with a private equity specialist healthcare investment firm. So we're now part of a much larger and national healthcare business specialising in disability services, veterans and aged care, and community nursing. So it's a terrific time to be part of that industry, and with lots of growth opportunity ahead of us.
My name's Rebecca Stenhouse. I'm CEO of the Australian Motoring Services Group. AMS is a joint venture of all of the automobile clubs, so RACV, NRMA, RAQ, and every single motoring club around those large ones around Australia. We're quite unique in that sense. So we provide, I guess, sort of two parts. Sort of operate as a wholesale arm for those businesses to provide roadside to OEMs, for example, and also a procurement arm to be able to get the benefits of scale for them in batteries and EV charging and things like that. That they couldn't do as a state-based organisation. So really unique, but it means we're operating across travel insurance industry, rewards, EV charging, roadside and batteries. So really diverse group of businesses and industries in which we operate in, which is super interesting, particularly in the current world of mobility and how that's evolving over time. Casting my mind back to when I first joined the NAWO Mentoring Program, I was in the midst of transitioning. I was a corporate lawyer by trade, and I was making the jump into working in I think it was operations at that time, or a continuous improvement role. And yes, I was at the start of my journey of a career transition, which is really exciting. And I guess the NAWO program came in a really pivotal time for me in my career.
Thinking back to when I first joined the NAWO program as a mentor, at that time I was leading a broad-based staffing business within Programmed, which encompassed our training services, white-collar recruitment business, as well as, at that time, quite a small healthcare business. And around about the same time as joining the mentoring program, we decided as an organisation to take a much more strategic approach to the healthcare sector. We could see the changes that were emerging in both aged care and disability with the establishment of the NDIS. And we felt that with our roots in nursing staffing, we had a really good understanding of the clinical landscape and a platform from which to grow into that sector. So I took on the great opportunity to really build a startup business from within a large organisation. And it was terrific to be backed by the company and given the scope, the time and the resources to really start something from scratch. And then thinking about that time, which is around about, I think, 2017, to have taken, the acorn of a little business and now turned it into a national business that attracted a new investor through the PE firm that I mentioned earlier, has been just a really exciting journey to be able to undertake for the business and with my team. One of the things that I've really benefited from throughout my career has been both formal and informal mentorship. I think sometimes you sort of fall into it. People spot you early in your career and they give you a little nudge and you don't even know that you're being mentored, but you think back later on and how impactful that was. And because I had that benefit of mentoring, I could really see how it helped you both build confidence, build skills, gain perspective. So that's really what motivated me to join the NAWO Mentoring Program at a point in my career where I felt I had a little bit of experience behind me and that I had something to offer.
Look, I was fortunate enough that my company at the time had approached me for the program. I'd never done anything like this before. I'd never had any kind of, again, similar to what Jen spoke to previously. You often had some informal mentoring but didn't really know. And given I was at a transition stage in my career, it came at a really great time. Really to have that mentorship, clearly from another female who was a CEO at the time, and you know, it's changing, but you don't have many role models, and having that conversation and understanding that, you know, at the time Jen was normal, lovely, highly, you know, very brilliant, but completely relatable, and that gives you confidence that it can be done, and to give you confidence to back yourself. So I could see the benefits of doing that, and it proved to be exactly what I thought it would be, and was a really great instigator, I guess, for my future career. Actually, there were probably two key things that you take away from it, and one was because I was a lawyer transitioning, I was thinking, where do I want to go? Do I want to go to sales and marketing? And I remember Jen said, don't go into sales and marketing, go into operations. We need more female in operations, and it's so much more fun. And I really wouldn't have considered operations because stereotypically at the time, and this was, you know, 8 years ago, I just didn't think about that. It was the best thing that I've ever done, the skills it's given me being in operations, because, you know, it's how the business works from the ground up. So that was absolutely brilliant. And the other one was to look after your well-being and to make sure you're taking time for yourself, doing the things that help you relax. I think we both liked yoga, and we might have spoken about that at the time. And they were just really two key things at the time for me that I took away from it. And that's all. Sometimes that's all you need.
Well, I've been involved in mentoring through NAWO in a couple of ways. So both one-on-one with Beck, and then also with a group of women, of about 6 women, where we had one of the programs that I think we worked through for about 6 weeks. And in both Beck's case and the case of the group that I worked with, one of the things that really struck me was or two things actually. One, the talent of the women that I got to work with. So I have to admit, I went in as a mentor thinking, and, you know, in the first meeting with Beck and then with the other group thinking, oh my goodness, what could I possibly have to actually share with these really super smart, really talented, really capable women on the way up. So that was really terrific to actually, you know, hear the perspective and tap into the talents of other women as well. So it's not just a one-way relationship in any sense of mentor imparting wisdom to mentee. It's nothing like that at all. It's actually a two-way relationship and a conversation where you both have things to give and you both have things that you gain from the experience. And that was really quite profound for me, both in terms of the abilities of the women I've worked with, and then the different industry perspectives they brought as well, and that kind of really rich learning environment that everyone has, because you get people coming from, you know, manufacturing, industrial, trading industries, staffing, human services, you know, a whole really wide range of industries that have different challenges. So yeah, you know, everyone learns something from the experience that's of value. The things that I've really benefited from throughout my career has been both formal and informal mentorship. I think sometimes you sort of fall into it. People spot you early in your career and they give you a little nudge and you don't even know that you're being mentored, but you think back later on and how impactful that was. And because I had that benefit of mentoring, I could really see how it helped you both build confidence, build skills, gain perspective. So that's really what motivated me to join the NAWO Mentoring Program at a point in my career where I felt I had a little bit of experience behind me and that I had something to offer.
Participating in the NAWO program definitely changed a couple of things. Firstly, it gave me the confidence to back myself. As I say, getting the opportunity to sit with a CEO, which would have seemed pretty unobtainable at that point in my career, and here I am today, 6 weeks in, but nevertheless. So who would have thought? And I think getting access to that kind of leader and seeing their journey and seeing that they're relatable and care and all of those wonderful things kind of shows you, you know, you can do it and you can back yourself. So I think that was enormously useful. And I've become a mentor myself at NAWO. So I think, you know, I was really enjoyed listening to Jen talking about her journey with that, because I was the same. The first, like my mentoring circle at the moment, I was blown away by the talent, and I thought exactly the same. I thought, God, how am I going to add value to this group? But it really is about facilitating the learning from each other. And as Jen said, just the curiosity and the sharing of ideas. And it gives me real kind of hope and makes me feel great to see the future of female talent that's coming through the pipeline, and the confidence with which they're doing that is incredibly exciting. I think, and this is probably more general advice really, is going, and this is just what I've learned. My career's been extremely diverse. Started as a corporate lawyer. I've worked in everything from, you know, cleaning and trolley collection to, you know, liquor to whatever. And I think going with this open mind, don't go in thinking this is what I do today and this is all I can do. Use it to open your mind to all of the ways in which you can use your skills. One of the things I've picked up is, you know, a lot of the females I deal with are not concerned they don't have transferable skills, or because they're in one place they can't pick up and move to another. Getting this exposure to so many different industries and roles, think of it from that way, you know, where can I take myself and be really open. So come in, probably overall, is come in with a real growth mindset, because if you can come in with that growth mindset, you'll be amazed what you pick up from the conversations that you might never otherwise would. So yeah, that would be my biggest advice or tip to people joining the program.
Tips I'd give women who are thinking about joining the mentoring program is use it as an opportunity to really test pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone in a safe space. So it's the place where you're going to be really supportive to explore some of those opportunities, where you're going to get the chance to ask the mentor and the other members of the group, hey, what is it like in operations, for instance? What's it like to have responsibility for a P&L if that's not currently what you're doing? What's it like in this kind of role or this kind of industry? So that real breadth of access to different experiences in an environment where nothing's off limits, where, in my experience, people really bring their heart and soul into it. If I think about the group that we had, you know, we talked about career, we talked about juggling work and family, we talked about how do you make sure, you know, that you look after yourself when you're climbing the ladder in your career, and how do you balance the time and the things that are important to you. And I remember having a discussion with one member of the group when she was on the cusp of going after a much bigger role with more responsibility. She was saying, one of the things I really like to do is cook the evening meal for my family at night, and I'm really worried that if I take on this job, I'm not going to be able to get home in time to do that. And so it led to a conversation from the group, which was, yes, you can do that. You can juggle all of that. You can actually set yourself up a rule that says every night I leave the office at whatever time it is, 5 o'clock, to get home, prepare the meal, because cooking helps me be creative and helps me relax and helps me nurture myself and my family. And you can bring some stuff home that you get onto again after dinner. So don't let, you know, rigid ideas dictate how you might construct a balanced life while taking on, you know, a much bigger challenge. That all of those things are solvable, and that in that environment with a group of, you know, with a mentor and mentees, you can nut some of those things out together, and that can be really enormously beneficial in helping you take that next step. Thoughts from me are go after a P&L role. So the same conversation I had with Beck. If I think back to my career, you know, a few decades ago now, and you know, being a woman entering into an operational role was still kind of a novelty. There weren't that many of us, and a lot of bright young female graduates started out with their careers and sort of fell away. So the pipeline thinned out. So much has changed in probably the last decade or so, and I see fantastic women everywhere who've taken on that opportunity to get into operations, to run a business, to have responsibility for the bottom line. And if I go to a meeting or a forum or an external event, you know, I'm no longer one or two, you know, of women out of a group of 20, you know, 20 men. It's becoming much more normal, and it just takes that leap of confidence to move into that space, because women have the talent, have the ability, and more, I think, are able to combine, you know, a great life with running a terrific business, as well as enjoying all of the other things that are important to you.
Yeah, final thoughts for me is don't be intimidated. I think one of the things I learned in my career, particularly when I was a lawyer and I was around people running P&Ls, and I felt quite intimidated because they had the lingo and they talked about, you know, forecasting and this and that, and I'd be like, oh God, you know, it must be so hard. And I was quite intimidated. I let myself be quite intimidated by that. And I think as you get more senior and you get to these roles, you realise most people are faking it till they make it. And not everyone knows what they're talking about. They do a really good job of sounding like they know what they talk about. So don't be intimidated. Not everyone knows what they're doing. Half of us feel like we're imposters, imposter syndrome. And it's all about backing yourself. So that's probably one of my biggest takeaways in my career as I've progressed, that you know, it's all very doable. No one has any more special skills. They've just backed themselves. So that's what I would say is back yourself into any role that you want to do.
Hear, because you'll learn it. You could, you know,
That you will.
everything's learnable.
Exactly. Growth mindset. There you go.
Thank you so much. Big love to Beck and Jen for their contribution to the interviews there, and thank you for everyone for the questions you've been sending in the chat. Managed to answer all of those. Next steps, what does this look like? So just a summary again, applications are now open until the 20th of November, and you can register via the website, or you may have received a direct email if your organisation is part of NAWO. We will do November, December is, again, my pots of tea and doing the manual matching. And before the end of December, before we go on sort of that end of year break, all mentees will be emailed with confirmation of the status and where we're at and when you will next expect to hear from us. End of January, by the end of January, I should say, introductions will be made. So you'll have a direct contact with your mentor. You'll be able to set up when is your first session, when are you having your goal setting session with them, what format that's going to take, what platform, whether you can meet in person if you choose to, all of those logistics. And 15th of February is when we kick off officially with the program launch and welcome event. So with that, I promised you more time in a day, and I must admit I've only left like 7 minutes, so that perhaps wasn't offering you as much time back as possible. But any questions, please feel free to raise hands. If you want to come off mute, please feel free to put it in the chat. Babs, I'm so glad that you're excited to be part of the program, and the fact that Beck's your new CEO is fantastic. She's been a wonderful part of the program. Any questions that people want to add into the chat last minute? If you think of, if you're like me and you wake up at 3 a.m. for some reason and go, I should have asked that, or I want clarity on this, please feel free to email mentoring@nawo.org.au, and the team will absolutely get back to you with any of those questions. But what you will receive from today, yep, perfect prompt, Nicole, is you will receive a copy of the slides. They'll have a link to the interview as well, along with the recording of this session. We'll also send through the terms and conditions and a link, of course, to the application form should you choose to apply. Here's one more question. 101, do match within state? They can be nationwide, yes. So there is a preference around making sure the right people are matched wherever they're located. We do have a consciousness around time zones. So, you know, Sydney and Melbourne versus Perth can be a challenge, but if it's the best match, it is one that we'd recommend. For international matches, we go into a bit more detail establishing whether those would be okay. But yes, it would be overall. Does the fee cover the social end of year event? Absolutely. The fee covers everything associated with the program. So no, you won't be asked for more funds to participate in end of year or mid-year events or anything else associated with the program. Thank you so much for joining us today. Always wonderful to see such a wide range of faces. I hope to see my inbox filling up with some more applications over the course of the next week or two. And do feel free to reach out if you have any queries. Again, mentoring@nawo.org.au. Thanks so much for your company today.
Thanks, Alicia. Thanks, everybody.